We have another delegation.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Just a mover seconder to receive that for information.
Mover to receive that for information, please. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Lees. Thank you, Clerk. Keep me in line. Our second delegation, Lou DeVuono, right, for the Hero Highway Ride and Rally Association regarding the annual Heroes Highway Ride 2016. If you could come forward.
Good evening, Your Worship, and members of council, members of staff. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Lou DeVuono. I am the founder and the executive director of the Heroes Highway Ride and Rally Association. It's a not-for-profit organization that organizes an annual motorcycle ride and public rally for Canadians to show their support, gratitude, and respect to those that serve and have served and are fallen heroes of the Canadian Forces and their families. I come before you tonight in the hopes that we might secure your support to bring the Heroes Highway Ride and Rally to your community. We're asking for two things. First, that we hold our rally at Memorial Park on Saturday, June 4th, and second, that all costs associated be provided in kind. A few facts about our event is to demonstrate both the importance and economic benefits that come from being a host community of this great event. We welcome 2,000 to 3,000 motorcycles, which translates to about 3,000 to 4,000 people joining us every year. And they're from Canada, the US, and we've had riders from Israel, Britain, and Australia join us to show their support. We've received a great deal of press here in Canada as well as abroad, and this continues to generate more interest in the event every year. And as this is going to be our 8th year, we expect it to be bigger and better than ever. The HHR is free for all participants. We don't have a registration fee, which is a common practice in many motorcycle events, because we couldn't put a price on what our Canadian Forces do. It's free simply because what price is on a person's life, what they've given up to give us the freedom to hold these events and for us to enjoy this great country of ours. The cost of our freedom does not rest on only those who choose to serve, but on their families as well. And one of the key aspects of the HHR is to remember the members of the family that stay behind and look after the home and children and that while their other loved ones are away fighting wars or, carrying out humanitarian duties that the Canadian Forces are often asked to participate in. To that end, we invite a family member from the fallen heroes families to join us as a Grand Marshal. In the past, we've had Darlene Cushman join us and other fallen family members. She's a Silver Cross mother of Darryl Caswell, which is was a resident of Bowmanville. We've raised funds for Wounded Warriors Canada and the Tony Stacey Centre for Veterans Care by accepting voluntary donations. As I said, we don't have a registration fee, but we do accept voluntary donations, and we present them to the charities. We also bring awareness of their programs and services available to our veterans, such as Trenton and Toronto Military Family Resource Centers and PST dogs for veterans that require service dogs. They've been shown to work very well for helping them cope in day-to-day situations, stress, and it's now being looked at by the Canadian government as a future treatment for servicemen that are suffering from PSTD. The Portraits of Honor generally come out every year and put his display of our 158 fallen heroes up. And Port Hope was one of the first communities to stand on the overpasses to honor our fallen heroes, so it only seems fitting that Port Hope play host to a tribute of great Canadians, those that protect our freedom at home and abroad. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could I have a mover to receive this in a second, or we'll discuss it? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Hickey. Discussion? Any questions, comments? Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. DeVuono, for all you do, and good presentation. Can you give me some idea of the impact this has had on other communities that have hosted this event?
Well, the first year we did it, we went to Whitby. We didn't have a rally, a public rally, but upon doing some discussions with the people that took part, they asked for a rally. So second year we went to Bowmanville, and we had a open rally on Main Street in downtown Bowmanville. We saw our numbers escalate from 134 bikes the first year to over 1,200 motorcycles the second year. The event was an overwhelming success from all aspects, because it engaged the community. And one of the things that we found over the last couple of years, haven't been involved in bringing it to a community, is that it lost that community spirit. It just seemed like it was more of a motorcycle ride than a rally. By bringing it into a community such as Port Hope or Oshawa, it engages the community to be part of it, and it also gives the local people an opportunity to come out and thank our veterans as well, not just the motorcycling community. So that opportunity, it's kind of hard to describe. When we went to Oshawa, there's an active regiment there. The soldiers are a reserve unit, but they're not necessarily deployed all the time, but there were tears streaming down the faces of many of these soldiers watching the motorcycles come up the street. It was a downpour. We had 3,000 motorcycles come out, and it was a small bit of adversity for us, like one day of rain. It's nothing compared to the adversity they faced during operations. That impact touched them, and we were embraced by the Canadian Forces in that simple act. So for us to do it and engage the community, it helps bring the two, because what I've found through doing this 8 years is that many of the Forces members feel outsiders. They're treated separately, they're treated differently. And this brings the community and the Forces together, closer together. They don't feel as ostracized. And I think that's important. I mean, in a time when, you go back to World War I and II, they called it shell shock. There's always been a different name for it, but PSTD. Showing them that we're engaged with them, that they're not standing alone, is invaluable. There's no price you can put on it. So when we bring it to a community and the community gets involved, the value goes up exponentially.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Plechnik.
Just a question. You've said that you have been in Whitby, Bowmanville, and Oshawa. Why are you not going back to those communities?
Well, we've moved it around. I've done, second year was Bowmanville, third year was Oshawa, fourth year was Toronto, fifth year we went in reverse. We went from Whitby to Trenton. The sixth year we went to Whitby. But the challenge in Whitby is that they also hold their annual fair in Brooklyn. So you have two significant events happening in the community at the same time. And Whitby's a very accepting host, but we wanted to bring it back more connected to a smaller community, because we find that that's where we had the best success with meeting with the community. Bowmanville, I would say, is probably the best example of us coming to a community other than Trenton. When we went to Trenton, the experience was second to none, but that's a military town, so they embrace it differently. So when we went to a town that didn't have, you know, a military base in it, it was really well received.
Thank you.
Councillor Lees?
My first question is to Councillor Palutnik. In the last HBIA meeting, it noted in the report that the HBIA had some concerns with this event being held in Port Hope. Could you tell me when they voted, how they voted, and what the concerns were from the HBIA's perspective for the town or municipality of Port Hope, please?
There was a dialogue over this event with the HBIA board. They went through a number of points. They discussed all of the positives. They saw the presentation. There was a unanimous vote not to support this event in the downtown core. They cited that they didn't see any economic impact for their merchants. They found that the tenants in the downtown area would have a noise problem. They didn't feel the pros outweighed the cons. They felt that it did not fit the image of that downtown and what it was looking for, and the cost to the municipality was also an issue because there was information brought forward about a problem with Oshawa and outstanding bills for cleaning up. So they voted unanimously against hosting this.
Thank you. Can I ask a couple more questions?
Yes.
Lou, don't take this wrong, but I really respect what you guys do and that you do a great job. I've heard, goods and bads from both sides of the spectrum on this. Is it correct that you bring your own food and supplies, you bring food truck vendors
No.
to the community?
No, we try to engage the community, as I said. One of the reasons we initially were approaching Port Hope as a downtown event is that to bring the community into the downtown section and use local restaurants and that type of thing. We don't distract from that. Bowmanville was a perfect example. There were no outside food vendors or trucks or anything like that. Local community restaurants came and participated, and that's the way we prefer to do it. We don't try to disseminate from the community. But when you got 2,000 or 3,000 bikes, we're a hungry bunch, so I just want to make sure there's enough food for everybody.
So you won't be bringing food trucks and things to?
Well, it's not necessarily an aspect that I have to pursue. If the community wants to come forward with food trucks or the service clubs, and we invite them to be
That's my
participants.
concern. I heard that you guys did that, and I thought.
No.
We have lots of great foods within block of this. There's many restaurants around, lots of caterers, lots of service.
No,
clubs, and we
that's
could
not
provide
that's
this
not our goal.
community could provide. And I want to make sure that, if you guys do come here, that you do, support us, because it is a cost to us to clean up after you've gone.
We understand that. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I think Councillor Pletcher is next.
Thank you. Mr. DeVuono, in terms of the costs, because we have to look at this from a financial perspective, and we just passed our budget this evening, and I don't know what this is going to cost us, but from looking at this, I guess we would have police services to escort. It looks like you have quite a need for escorts from the highway into the town, plus cleanup, washroom facilities. There'd have to be some expense with respect to that. And I'm just concerned about the actual numbers. I mean, I know it's a free event for your members, for the people riding with you, but there's got to be a cost to our municipality. And I'm just wondering, can you put a dollar figure on what it would cost us? And do you have that in comparison to other years, what it's cost those municipalities?
I'm sorry, I don't. I'm not privy to that. Normally, I ask for a road closure. The washroom issue, I provide my own porta potties. They're at my cost. They're not at the cost of the municipality. What I do ask for is using Memorial Park as an example, the use of the stage power for the day. Picnic tables if they're available, the road closure, the road access, the permit necessary to close the road for that time, the garbage bins being put out. I have a crew that will clean up the litter and that type of thing after the event's over, but the actual, the mechanics behind picking up the garbage after that is, I ask municipality to pick up.
And in just in following up to that, I did read a newspaper article that there was a fee in another municipality that you attended and that they asked you to clean up. And so they put a dollar value on what that was in terms of, in Oshawa, was it?
The situation with Oshawa is, I went before the Corporate Services Committee and asked for services in kind, and they voted unanimously to support the event, including the permits and the road closure. With 6 weeks to go before the event, and I had spent, I had invested $160,000 in in-kind advertising through my media sponsors to have the event. They came forward with a bill, essentially a permit, and said that I had to sign the permit or I had to move my event. After, the credibility issue would have come up. And I signed it under duress because I couldn't move the event with 6 weeks to go. They decided that they were going to proceed with a lawsuit. At the end, Oshawa Council decided to zero the bill. It's the only community that's ever put a dollar figure on it, and it's the only community that's ever asked me to pay for services in kind.
But by putting a dollar figure on it, that's the cost to the municipality. So we need to figure out what is this going to cost our municipality, because there is an economic impact.
I understand that. Okay. Initially, they came out with a dollar figure, $19,000. Then it was down to $10,000, and then ultimately the figure that they zeroed was $5,900. So I don't know what figure you pick,
Okay.
right? Because it seemed to be a moving target.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Plicknick?
Just a couple more questions. How many bikes do you anticipate this year?
I anticipate 1,500 to 2,000 motorcycles.
And that would equate to between...
Translates to
3,000 to
roughly
4,000?
2,200 to about 3,000 people.
Okay. How long would you be planning on staying?
The event usually wraps up by 6 o'clock,
So you would arrive here at what time?
approximately lunchtime.
Okay, so it wraps up at 6, and so then, now, I read through your presentation that you did to the CERT committee, and one of the things that you did recommend in that was that there would be food trucks, because I think you're used to the...
I suggested that if
Can I finish?
necessary.
And then you can, the reason for that is putting an influx even into our town of that many people, that in that short amount of time to try to fill, that would fill every restaurant that we have, every public washroom we have, everything to overflowing for a number of hours. So I understand why you would want your own facilities and why you bring your own porta potties, is to facilitate this amount of people coming in for a short period. Now, the issue that you still have an outstanding bill with Durham for road closures?
As I understand it, there's no outstanding bill.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Hickey?
Yes, my question relates to, you were talking about engagement with the community, and you're going to be here approximately for a 6-hour period of time. With about 2,200 people, what are the methodologies or means that you would use to, how do you see the community being engaged with you in this event?
Well, the motorcycle aspect is about 6 hours, so bikes would arrive around noon. The event would actually start in the morning of approximately 10 a.m. There would be live music. There would be, activities going on here in Memorial Park prior to the bikes arriving. One of the upbeat parts of the afternoon is the sound of 1,000 motorcycles arriving into town. It draws a lot of attention, captures people's imaginations. Everybody likes to see a motorcycle ride by, and that, especially a group. And when you're riding with veterans and people that support them, it has a nice, it leaves a nice taste in your mouth, kind of thing. It's just warm, feeling that you're doing something right, and you're recognizing the sacrifices that so many make for us.
I have a question. The contribution you make, to the families and the, fallen soldiers, can you quantify that? Is that an amount of money that...
The the money that we've collected through voluntary donations to Wounded Warriors and to the Stacy Center it exceeds over $50,000 over the 7 years that we've done the event. The fallen families have. It's unique with them because they don't do it for monetary value or anything like that. I wish I could have had one of the fallen family members here. They best explained it when as filling a hole in their heart. When they rode or were taken along the highway of heroes, taking their fallen or their family member on their last ride home, it's very surreal. And everything kind of happens in a blink of an eye. When they come and take part in our event, it gives them an opportunity to really understand that Canadians are there for them, both as mourning for them and supporting them and recognizing what they've sacrificed. Through our Fallen Families program, by bringing them out, they now because the families themselves are very tight as a community, they message themselves, and we now, even though we only identify one fallen family member as our Grand Marshal, we've had as many as 13 fallen families, fallen hero families come out and participate in the event, and they do so annually, which is rather unique in itself.
Thank you. So it sounds like the actual fundraising is over 50,000 over 7 years, but there's a huge emotional impact and support for the human aspect of it.
Yeah, you have to understand the financial part of it was never a consideration. I mean, like, I have media sponsors that do in-kind sponsorship. If we firm up here in Port Hope. The city can expect approximately $100,000 worth of in-kind publicity from the likes of the Toronto Sun, Chorus Radio, CFRB 1010, Bell Media. So, there is a monetary reward for Port Hope in a sense of recognition and publicity. I don't want to focus on the financial part of it because that's not what we're doing. We're there as symbolic, not necessarily about raising money, just raising awareness and giving thanks.
4.12, Jeannie Maidens, Events Coordinator, and W. Nicholson, Traffic Operations Manager, regarding special event temporary road closure for Heroes Highway Ride and Rally. We'd recommend that a resolution be prepared for presentation to council on March 15, 2016, to authorize the Heroes Highway Ride and Rally on Saturday, June 4, 2016, and further that a special event temporary road closure bylaw be prepared for presentation to council on March 15, 2016, to accommodate street closures related to this event. Do I have a mover and seconder for discussion, please? Councillor Andrews, Deputy Mayor Burns. Discussion? Councillor Palutnik.
First, I'd like to apologize to all of council and the public for the report that came out of my department on the Idea Hub. I have two issues with the report that is before us. There are so many things that have been left out of this that we're supposed to be basing a decision on. It states in the report, nearby stakeholders were consulted regarding the proposed event plan. There have been some concerns stated by the Heritage Business Improvement Area related to noise level and required road closures for the highway event. There weren't some concerns. They voted against it.
Unanimously.
Unanimously. It's not in the report. There was no background study done on the report. There was, honest, like ours in the Idea Hub, that was not a success, and we fluffed it. And I, as a counselor, would like to be able to have information that I can make a relevant decision on. And I'm sorry, Councillor Lees, I find this report is horribly flawed and doesn't assist me making a decision on this unless I went forth on my own, as you have done, to get that information.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Councillor Andrews?
When I looked at this, I thought, what a great opportunity for us. I mean, emotionally, when I asked you the impact, I was hoping you would address it the way you did, because that's the important part of it. The potential $5,900 is not at all a showstopper in my mind, and I know where it is in the budget, by the way, where we could access it with no impact. So that should be taken off the table. But this would help put us on the map. You know, we keep talking about wanting to promote our town and bring people to our town, and to have an opportunity to bring 3,000 new people to our town, I think it's phenomenal. You know what? Motorcycles are very, very noisy. But guess what? The war was a hell of a lot noisier than the motorcycles. So just bear that in mind when you're making your decision.
Thank you. Councillor Bletcher?
I'd just like to say that I think this report it's very difficult to make a decision on a financial issue, which is what we're being asked to consider. I understand that there is an emotional connection to this event, and we see that when lots of events in the community. However, how do we assess how this affects us financially and where we have the funds for it? I'm concerned about that. The other concern I have is that we support the Capitol Theatre. We've supported that again through our capital grant program this year. And I'm just a little concerned that, 2,000 motorcycles parked outside of the Capitol Theatre when I believe they have a matinee event that afternoon. And if we're going to be supporting businesses there in a Capitol Theatre event, how is this event going to be used at the same time? So has that been considered in the report? It wasn't really considered in terms of, have they been considered? Have their concerns been raised? Have they been addressed? And what issues like that are dealt with? Did that come up in discussion? And the other thing is, this is coming through Parks, and was this discussed at a Parks and Rec meeting with respect to all of these other concerns that have been raised? So this hasn't come to the Parks Committee? No? Okay.
Councillor Andrews?
The impact on the Capitol Theatre was addressed, as was the impact it's in the report, how they intend to handle the communication with ticket holders that day. Will it be busy down there? Boy, it sure will be, and that's a good thing.
Mr. Mayor?
I concur with probably both sides a little bit here in that we would like more information, maybe some more assurance that, the community's not harmed by this, but I don't see, that's other than a logistic issue. And I'd like to point out, 2,000 motorcycles can ride into this town anytime they want. They don't need our permission. What they need their permission for is to use the park and use the road. All right, so we can't stop people from coming in here. And although there are some concerns expressed, we can sit and do nothing, for the rest of our term. And the decisions aren't always going to be necessarily easy ones. And I would say we won't always have all the information we want, and we'll learn some things from it. I think there is a huge emotional component to this concept. It has got, I think, he said 7 years of experience with it, and I'm sure there's been some bumps in the road. But I'm sure that the people who participate in this, are also cognizant of that. I won't measure it. I think there will be a very large economic benefit to the community. I think there will be some hassles, like anything, but I think the amount of profile that Port Hope would have, and particularly given that Port Hope was, one of the first communities to stand on the bridge, for the Highway of Heroes ride, and that it's sustained, I think is an important factor too. So some concerns, absolutely. Can our staff address them to make sure their garbage cans are there, how many porta potties there are needed, and all that kind of stuff? I think that's what our staff can do well. I wish the report was a little bit more robust for sure, But it's not the first report we've had to make decisions without probably having enough information to do it. But if we wait forever, we'll never make a decision. So